Hey, here's something you don't see every day on the Apostle P channel. A finely crafted, tough as nails, beautifully finished, superbly ground Hinderer XM18 3.5 inch flipper Sponto. Oh my. We got problems here. Stick around, guys. We'll talk about it. Hi gang, Rob here. It's the evening of 7 July 2014 and I'm coming to you tonight with not a review, not a showcase of sharpening or of a knife or anything like that, but with a desperate plea. A desperate plea. I've had a couple examples of this over the last few months and I've sort of held off making this video because I don't really love to offend people. I really don't. There are lots of really good knife sharpeners out there, and there are lots of guys who care about their knives, and those are the people that I want to talk about and feature on this channel. And sort of in effort to do that, I gotta give some advice. This is a Rick Hinderer XM18 3.5 inch, as I said in the introduction. It's a beautifully made knife. If you're lucky enough to get them when Rick has them for sale, they're $385. $385. If you have to buy one from an online retailer or on the secondary market, prepare to spend between $500 and $700 for one. They're valuable, and they have value, and they're made extremely well, and the engineering of the grinds and the edge geometry is perfect for a knife of this application, which is strongly built tactical folder. I've really always admired Hinderer knives because of the way that they transition this forward finger choil to cutting edge. Much like a Sebenza, the edge is sharpenable in a straight fashion all the way to the back, but you don't see that on this knife, do you? You see a big recurve and a point and a gnarly edge. Why? Because the owner of this knife made the mistake one day when he was in his local gun store, and he saw that that gun store had on site a knife sharpener armed with a belt sander and other crude tools who will sharpen your knife for $5, and one day he handed it to him. So what are we left with? We're left with this. Well, it's freaking embarrassing. It's a horribly convex, nastily recurved garbage edge. Way too much of this knife is missing from sharpening. It's jacked up as stone wash. It's like, you know, I'm sure what the guy had was a belt sander and then a big cloth buffing wheel with polishing compound on it. So he puts this nasty, coarse, toothy, convex belt edge on it, and then he buries the edge into a cloth polishing wheel and rips the apex off of it. And oops, we didn't quite get back to the base of the blade, did we? So here's this $500–600 investment with a bunch of its blade missing, and it's going to have to lose a little more in order for it to have the edge on it that it deserves. So guys, here's the point. Please, when you're at the gun and knife show and you see a guy, you know, with a booth set up and it says knife sharpening, and he's got the belt sander between his legs, and as you're walking by he says, "Hey buddy, what knife are you carrying? Let me see that." And you whip it out, he grabs it from you and goes to town on his belt. Just hit him. Do not let him touch your knife. You know, my boss says, because his dad told him this when he was a young boy, You can buy a pair of shoes for $10, and then you got a $10 pair of shoes. You can buy a knife sharpening for $5, and then you have it's worse than a $5 knife sharpening. You have a ruined knife. You know, there's a reason that when I sharpen knives, I don't use any power equipment. There's a reason I use a method of stock removal that's slow and deliberate and lets me see what I'm doing and what I've done all through the process. There's a reason that I use 5 different grits of stones and some polishing tapes and a strop to get from start to finish. It's because that's what knives like this deserve. It's the kind of edge that brings out the best in them. I conserve as much material as I can. You know, I try to never take off more than I need to in a reprofile, or even at the apex of an edge in the lower grits. I'll try to leave a little bit of unsharpened area that I know my finer grits are going to clean up, so when it's time for the micro bevel, I haven't removed more blade than I need to, because the blade's $500, guys. It needs to last a long time. I'm not telling you guys this because I want you to send all your knives to me to sharpen. I got as much as I can handle on my plate. There are other really good knife sharpeners in this world that all care about doing a good job as much as I do. And you guys can find them on YouTube. There's Randy at Silla's Knife Reviews over on Instagram. There's Top Cat. I don't know if Dean O does a lot of knives for hire. I know he sharpens some blades for his buddies, but they're out there. Don't send even your inexpensive knives with softer steel. That steel goes away quicker than this stuff does. I think this is S35VN. Yeah. You know, even your $60 cold steel knife in AUS 8A, do you really want, 25% of the blade gone because some overzealous belt sander got a hold of it? I don't think so. Best of all, guys, learn to sharpen. If you're not comfortable doing that, or you just don't have the time or the inclination, find somebody you can trust to keep the edges in ship shape on your knives, and learn how to maintain them in between major sharpenings. And my channel as well as others have some hints and tips on how to do that. Just had to get that off my chest because this is just a very, very sad sight. There will be a part 2 of this video to kind of show you what it ought to look like when it's done. It's going to probably look a little funky back here, but at least it's going to be straight and sharp all the way to the edge. So stay tuned for the finished product, my friends. Boom! Hey, there it is, guys. I told you to stay tuned. Was that the lamest Jeopardy theme you've ever heard whistled in your life? I think it was. Okay, we are all done sharpening, and let's take a close look at what we've got. We took a close look at this knife before. If you notice, that nasty recurve at the base of the blade is gone. We've got a pretty consistent bevel width. It's kind of hard to tell here because although I did take this to 18 degrees per side, you can still see above my mirror polished bevel there's still a little bit of the damage to the stone wash from that belt slander / polishing wheel. But even if you can't see it, I'll tell you, my bevel does flare ever so slightly at the back, but the cutting edge is straight. Let's kind of take a look here. No light. That's how it ought to be. And And it is 18 degrees all the way through. As all hinderer spontos do, you get just a little thickening or widening of the secondary bevel right where the yokote of the sponto divides the two primary bevels. And then it sort of settles down as it comes to the tip. And it is 18 degrees per side with a tiny 21 degree micro bevel. Try to come in and get a sort of a macro for you. See if you can catch some light on that micro. If it'll focus that close. But oh, that's how it should be, guys. Let's take a look at our tip. I don't know if this will focus. I have trouble focusing on tips. It came out pretty well, considering how far we had to go with this one. I wish I had made some futile attempts to cut paper with the butter knife edge that this had on it, but I think it came out okay. Yeah, it's not bad for a big thick hinderer sponto. Nice and silent through the paper, a little S-curve. That's pretty wicked handling for a hinderer, I gotta say. They're not exactly slicers, even in a slicer grind, and this isn't that. So, the phoenix has risen from the ashes. But let's get back to what we were originally talking about, shall we? What not to do with your knife, especially your really expensive mid-tech or semi-custom knife, or even high-end production knife, however you term a hinderer or a Sebenza or a Strider. Did pretty well at the spa too, I must say. Blade centering on the money. And oh yeah, too bad hinderers don't flip. They just, you know, for a flipper, they just don't flip. Inside joke, One All's Pub. But here's the point, guys. It's 25 bucks plus shipping to do what I do. And there are several on YouTube that kind of do what I do. So if it's priority mail, small flat rate box both ways, it's $37 to get this done. And on any well heat treated blade out of respectable steel, this kind of sharpening will serve a major reprofile and a brand new little skinny micro bevel. With proper touching up and maintenance, and I'm talking fine ceramic rods and strops, even on a knife that you might carry, let's say 50% of the time and you use it a lot, it's only going to need to come to me, you know, every couple years if you're remotely proficient with a ceramic rod and a strop to keep it touched up. So, you know, let's say it's 2 years. That's $18 a year to keep a proper edge on your $500 or $600 knife, or even a proper edge on your $60 knife that you like to keep nice and you like it to work. Don't destroy them with belt sanders, please. Save the knife blades. They're worth it. I promise. Okay, that's enough of my soapbox, guys. I'm really happy with the way this came out. I really, really am. Shem, I hope you're happy with it when you get it back. And I know that you're pretty picky about your knives, so I hope this is acceptable to you. I think it should be. I don't think I can pinky flip it, but man, it flips nicely. Even straight up in the air. Must not be a real hinderer. Hey, that's all I have for tonight, guys. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the word and Shem's hinderer are sharp.